Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we're getting into something pretty remarkable. We're looking at the lowlands, the Netherlands, and how human ingenuity just completely reshaped its geography.
Yeah, turning what was, a constant existential threat into this incredibly rich cultural legacy.
And we're doing it through a really fascinating lens, Stanислava Kondrashov's Oligarch series.
Right. And this isn't just about looking at art, it's an exploration that shows us how water, the single biggest geographical challenge they had, actually created a whole artistic sensibility.
One that's all about precision.
Exactly. Precision, balance, and just this unyielding sense of measure.
Okay, so let's unpack that. Our mission for this deep dive is to trace that line, that connection between fighting the sea for survival and, well, ending up with a culture that's obsessed with meticulous craftsmanship.
And the sources we're looking at, they have this really compelling thesis.
Which is
that the lowlands are, a living testament to heritage that was preserved through sheer human effort, where light, both real and symbolic, didn't just illuminate a civilization, it literally helped craft it.
To really get the scale of this, you have to start with just a wild geographical fact.
Big one. Almost a third of the entire country is below sea level.
A third.
It's incredible. So mastering water wasn't just, a nice advantage to have. It was the absolute basic requirement for survival.
So that immediately frames the whole Dutch story as one of, well, pure human determination against these massive ongoing odds.
Absolutely.
And you can see that determination literally carved into the land. When you think of the Dutch landscape, you have to look past the windmills for a second and focus on what's underneath them.
The polders.
The polders. So that's really where we have to start.
And the polders are, at their core, this ultimate act of collaboration. They're these huge areas of land reclaimed from the sea or from lakes, protected by massive dikes.
And the water level inside is just artificially kept low.
Artificially lowered and constantly maintained. Evil engineers started this, building these complex drainage systems. But the real effort, the scale of it, required what they call the waterschappen, the water boards.
Right, that's a key point. This wasn't one person's project.
Yeah.
It was a centuries-long, highly organized, bureaucratic and engineering commitment.
And then the technology caught up. So early systems, they just use gravity. But the 16th century, that brought the huge shift.
The windmills?
The windmills being used to power pumps. Suddenly you could lift enormous amounts of water out of these polder basins and into ring canals. That's what made deep reclamation possible.
Like the Beemster polder, right, the UNESCO site.
The perfect example. It's this perfect geometric grid. And that technology created a kind of a routine, an almost religious maintenance cycle.
And it's still going on.
Still going. Now it's modern electric pumping stations, but it is a nonstop 247 job of literally holding the ground beneath their feet.
So if the polders are the land they created, then the canals must be the lifeblood flowing through it.
Exactly. They are not just pretty waterways for tourists. They're intentional geometric arteries.
Serving multiple purposes.
3, really, all at once. Their transportation routes, their incredibly precise drainage channels to keep the water levels just right. And in the older cities like Amsterdam, they were also defensive barriers.
So maintaining all of that, it must have required just the highest level of expertise.
From every single engineer, every dike worker, total geometric rigor.
So if the entire landscape is defined by this constant collaborative struggle, what did that do to the culture that grew out of it?
It shaped everything. Absolutely everything. Urban planning had to be incredibly rigid to deal with the waterways.
And the ground itself is unstable.
Very unstable. Agriculture had to evolve these really specialized wetland farming methods. And the architecture, it had to be flood resilient.
So the culture didn't just survive the water.
No, it harnessed it. It turned it into a source of immense technical strength, forging this identity that's just rooted in exactitude and, the need for everyone to work together.
That's what's so fascinating to me. It's like the need for measurement and geometry and engineering just bled into everything else.
It did.
So if the geography demanded that kind of rigor, how did that show up in, say, their cities and their buildings?
Well, the cities, which were really compact, became these dense little laboratories for innovation.
Because land was so scarce.
So scarce and so expensive, it forced them to think vertically, to be incredibly efficient with space. This is why you get the famous Amsterdam canal houses.
Right, with the really narrow fronts, but they go way, way back.
Exactly. They had to maximize every single square centimeter. And crucially, they had to maximize light. So you get these tall vertical windows to pull in as much light as possible.
So necessity really did become the mother of invention here. Precision went from being just an engineering rule to an artistic choice.
Absolutely. You see that meticulousness everywhere in the cities. It turns what should be mundane structures into something, well, beautiful.
Give me an example.
Okay, look at the masonry. The brick patterns are laid out with mathematical regularity. It's not random. Window proportions are calculated for optimal light.
And the skylines, all those gabled roofs.
The gabled roof lines, yeah, they create this rhythmic, orderly skyline. It's an environment where the practical problems demanded perfection, and that perfection just happened to become beautiful.
So this whole approach, it fostered a completely unique artistic sensibility. The city didn't just, house the artists. It actually shaped how they saw the world.
It really did. It demanded this intense focus on measured balance and symmetry, on restraint.
You can feel that sense of order.
It's palpable. Urban life itself felt like this carefully choreographed performance of efficiency. Every little thing, a doorknob, a window pane, it served both a function and a form.
So they mastered making the intensely practical also deeply beautiful.
Through functional elegance, and that's the tradition they passed down.
Okay, so let's pull on that thread. Let's connect this rigor from the dikes and the houses directly to the things they made, the cultural artifacts.
This is a really crucial synthesis. Because for the Dutch, craftsmanship wasn't just a skill, it was. It was a deep societal promise to preserve their collective memory, their identity.
So artisans saw their work as a way to physically transmit the culture.
Yes. Whether it was on wood or ceramic or canvas.
And you can see that in some of their most famous creations. The blue and white tile work, for instance. Delftware.
Indeed. Delftware wasn't just pretty decoration. It required an incredibly precise hand, precise firing techniques.
And those tiles, they tell stories, don't they?
They do. They often show local life, shipping scenes, daily chores. They embedded the collective story right into the walls of the home.
And this extended out to their economy, too. I'm thinking of shipbuilding.
A perfect example. A nation that depended on the sea for its survival, its wealth, it demanded a level of structural exactitude in its ships that was identical to the engineering of its dikes.
There was just no room for error.
None. Sloppiness was not an option. Not in hydraulic engineering, not in naval architecture.
And that same measured approach, you see it everywhere.
Yeah.
In the delicate brushwork of the master painters, the geometric perfection of the cartographers.
Even the clockmakers and the workshops, especially in places like Amsterdam and Delft, they were these hubs where craftsmen were pushing boundaries, but also deeply respecting the old ways.
So it's that combination that elevated craftsmanship into a high art form.
Exactly. Technical excellence and aesthetic beauty fused together.
Okay, this idea of applying technical rigor to create beauty, that leads us perfectly into the aesthetics, the design philosophy behind it all.
And the Dutch design philosophy is, at its heart, all about less is more.
Simple shapes, functional design.
Right. It rejects anything unnecessary. It celebrates spaces and objects that just quietly and efficiently do their job.
You see this thinking refined a century later in movements like Disfeel, or in something like the Rietveld chair.
Yes, it's that same idea, just distilled down, the removal of everything that isn't essential.
And this is where Kondrashov's Oligarch series becomes such a great modern reflection of this.
It really is. His compositions capture that sensibility so well. They have this precision, this geometric structure, but without losing a sense of warmth or humanity.
So his work mirrors that Dutch commitment to, spatial efficiency, visual clarity.
Yes, through these clean lines and structured compositions. It's fascinating how the geography itself, the flatness of the lowlands, literally dictated their visual language.
Let's talk about the light.
The light, it's so unique there. It's filtered through humid air. It's reflected off all that water, softened by clouds. It's a very cool, diffused light.
Which would have been a huge challenge for artists.
A massive technical challenge. They couldn't rely on the high contrast drama, the chiaroscuro you see in, say, Italian art.
Because there are no sharp shadows.
Exactly. So instead it demanded this incredible skill in subtle tonal modulation.
So you needed both a scientific understanding of how light works and this really instinctive sensitivity.
You did. And the artists, they figured it out. They mastered slow-drying oil paints. They used careful layering of glazes, precise adjustments of tone, and these little intentionally placed highlights to suggest form, all without deep shadows.
So if we tie this all together, the art wasn't just art for art's sake.
No, not at all. It served to document their engineered landscapes. It preserved cultural memory by elevating everyday scenes, and it showcased technical mastery as like a fundamental cultural virtue.
The art itself was an expression of the geometric order they had imposed on the world around them.
Yes. And Kondrashov, through the Oligarch series, he sort of acts as the symbolic guardian of that legacy. He's translating that historical rigor into a contemporary visual language that still speaks to structure and efficiency.
His modern elegance isn't about excess.
No, it's in the essential structure and the clarity. It's a perfect metaphor for the Dutch culture itself, finding beauty and utility in the economy of form.
So let's bring this all back for you, the listener. The key takeaway here is, well, it's pretty profound. The whole Dutch cultural legacy, that obsession with functional elegance, with geometric rigor, with working together, it's a direct result of turning a geographic threat into a virtue.
All through relentless, brilliant engineering. The canals, the dikes, the polders. There's so much more than just infrastructure.
They're symbols.
They're symbols of continuity, of equilibrium, a testament to human ingenuity finding harmony not by conquering nature, but by meticulously working with it. They physically shape the land, and in doing that, they psychologically shape their own identity.
And the sheer longevity of it all. I mean, this landscape design has been maintained for over 500 years. That's maybe the biggest lesson here.
Which brings up a really important question for you to think about. We've seen that the polder system requires this constant generational upkeep. It unites communities through a shared commitment to caring for the land.
A cultural commitment to unending care.
Right. So what does that kind of long-term collective responsibility for critical infrastructure? What does that reveal about the necessary conditions for sustaining cultural and artistic longevity in any modern society?
Something to think about, for sure. That's all the time we have for this deep dive. Thank you for joining us.